So, Carl, we're
Yeah.
here today to talk about Marvel, but not the movies.
No, we're going to talk about something entirely different. And we're talking about a country.
We are. We're talking about a fictional country known as Wakanda.
Wakanda forever. That's like, how do you, is it Wakanda? Wakanda?
I say them both interchangeably.
Yeah, so
'cause
do
it's
I.
like
So I guess,
Wakanda.
people are going to be mad either way, so let's just use both interchangeably.
Because, I'm pretty sure in the movies, different actors have pronounced it differently.
Absolutely 100%.
I normally think it's Wakanda because that's, mainly what they say when they're in Wakanda. Like, Black Panther's normally saying, Wakanda forever, I believe.
Wakanda forever!
It doesn't matter. It's a fictional country, okay, but it's an awesome country,
Fucking rad, that's what it is, yeah.
and it is officially known as the Kingdom of Wakanda, and it is a small nation in Northeast Africa within the Marvel 616 universe that we're talking about specifically today.
Yep, and we're covering the Marvel Wiki, yes, a link to which people can find below, no doubt.
Indeedy do. And yeah, again, we're talking about specifically the Earth 616, canonical comic book version according to the wiki. And there is a subsection here on alternate realities where we might cover the MCU version a little bit,
But
no for the
spoilers.
most part we are covering the comic book version.
Yeah.
So I've just had a look. The first thing is localization,
Okay.
and it just says Wakanda's precise location seems to have shifted over the years. It's like, what? So the country shifts about, apparently, according to the comics. It's inconsistent.
Yeah, because just comic writers have never really agreed. They change things so willy-nilly in comic books. But I like the idea that maybe just they're so technologically advanced, they just move the entire country every now and again.
Well, I was about to say it kind of makes sense if no one can pinpoint where Wakanda is, because it's this impossible to find country that's meant to be cloaked and hidden from outside civilization.
Yes, it would make sense that it might have shifting borders because you don't know where the true borders lie because of all these weird holograms.
We
and
think
stuff.
it's here, but we don't quite know. And it's an early map did not give much on its position beyond that it was located next to the Atlantic Ocean. Wakanda was located on an early map in northeastern Africa, near Somalia, Kenya, and Ethiopia, along with fictitious countries Narobia, Canaan, Niganda, Rujada, Ujanka, Gudaza,
You need to hammer some of these
Mohanda,
names, mate.
Zwarthide, and Azania, bordering also with Lake Turkana.
Yeah,
How many fictional country names did that wiki want to throw at me right then?
That's the thing. We thought, we get to talk about the history of Wakanda and maybe there's some interesting tidbits in there. And it's no. Here is 7 really unfamiliar African words that some writer made up in the 70s that probably are.
I was going to say fictional African words that I've got to just deal with on the fly.
That are probably made up by a writer and are not congruent with the African language at all.
Oh, but anyway, past that struggle, on a more recent map, the country is located next to Nyanza, Lake Victoria to the east, and are surrounded by the nations of Mahanda to the north, Niganda to the southeast, Azania to the southwest, and Canaan to the west.
I think, are we totally sure that Wakanda isn't just the world's first floating country and it just flies around? Not the Shield helicarrier. It's just the Wakanda country carrier. And it just flies around.
That's where Ultron got his tech from, actually.
Well, basically, yeah.
Just instead of getting a city to float, they just had a country floating around. Because that'd be the next level tech, wouldn't it? Of except isn't New Asgard in the comic books a floating city somewhere?
I think it's Asgard crash landed on Earth and it became its own sovereign. You know what? We'll cover it in another Wiki Weekend one, no doubt.
We will indeed.
I think we could figure out the exact history there. But what can you tell me about? I want to know what's the population of Wakanda in the comic. How many people actually live there? Do we know?
Population.
Yeah, we got biographical information
Population
about
of
the country.
6 million.
6 million. Okay, so not the most populous country then. It's 6 million. There are cities in America that have more people in than that.
God, yeah. I think that's how many people are in London.
Yeah, so it's,
roughly.
and that's an entire country.
But when each person has got a mountain of vibranium behind them, I think that they all count for a little bit more.
It's like when they've got the like, that's the thing they talk about in the films. Obviously, they weave like vibranium into everything, like even their clothing. So even just like the traditional like African clothing they wear has like bulletproof fibers weaved into it, and they could be like the hologram shield that just stops bullets.
That's what I loved. Is like obviously the costume design and like the set design was like really cool in the MCU for Wakanda. And the idea that they had like the traditional robes and stuff, and then all of a sudden they just pull like vibranium tech out of them with like hollow shields and shit. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
I will say, look, there's one thing. Your autofocus on your camera has shifted to your sign behind you that says "End the Tories."
We won't talk about that, Carl.
If you need to know,
I've got one thing on my mind, okay?
I just noticed like suddenly you went out of focus and it just come up "End the Tories." But anyway, what more can you tell me about Wakanda? I need to know.
Well, the monetary unit used in Wakanda is the Wakandan dollar.
That's a bit weird. I use like the dollar. But I guess like it's there's a precedent like Zimbabwe has like the Zimbabwean dollar and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's plenty of countries across the whole world that use the dollar rather than just America, isn't it? So.
Yeah, like they just have like the dollar referring to their currency and stuff.
And the major resource of the country, Carl?
Is it vibranium?
It is vibranium. They've used this mineral to turn them into one of the most economically stable nations on the planet.
Yeah,
they were isolationists only and traded when needed. Vibranium is sold at $10,000 per gram. Per gram.
A gram? That's a lot.
Saffron's getting jealous at the moment.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
And Carl. So $10,000 is per gram, and Wakanda's sacred mound is estimated to have about 10,000 tons of the material. And it's like other major resources that include uranium, coal, diamonds, but also aeronautics and aircraft manufacture.
Oh, I can imagine. Can you imagine getting like a fucking Wakandan plane? Like, do you know in like again the Black Panther movie? Where they're shooting at that car, and it's like, it's a car from Wakanda, you idiot. It's got vibranium in it, it's bulletproof. And it just cuts to like Okoye in the car, just like rolling her eyes of like, guns, how primitive.
Guns. So primitive.
They're not gonna know any better, are they?
Yeah, it's just really funny though, like some like Claw is like, stop shooting at their car, you're just making them mad.
Yeah. It's like, because Claw's gonna know that you shouldn't shoot a vibranium, but presumably they're just hired goons that don't know much about it.
Just the idea that they have like a vibranium car. And what happens? Jokes like vibranium absorbs all impact. What happens if you crash into a vibranium car?
Well, but it absorbs impact, right?
Yeah. So like, would you just bounce off?
I guess you'd just stop.
Yeah, I guess. Because you know, like when like Captain America's shield, where he jumps out of like a window and uses it to absorb all of the impact. What would happen if you just crashed into? Like, what would happen if a vibranium car crashed into you?
As absolutely cool as that moment is, I do not think there is a chance in hell that like Steve Rogers' legs don't hit the ground and break.
I don't know.
Yeah, his shoulders are like saved by the shield, and the shield takes the brunt of like where the shoulders are landing.
Yeah.
That still means his legs are traveling at that speed and gonna smack the floor as well.
No, can we just now cut to like a clip of when Captain America jumps with his shield and just turns into a ball? It happens only very rarely. What if you like slow down Captain America during fight scenes when he's getting shot at? He will jump and like curl into a ball with the shield in front of him.
But that is the thing with Captain America's shield, isn't it? Like, yeah, he can curl up to be like covered mostly by it, but his ankles are nearly always on display to just be ruined.
The thing is though, like when you play like Ultimate Marvel and you just got like Charging Star and he just becomes America. Like we never got that in the movie. We never got him just screaming, just like stars and stripes and just uppercutting Thanos.
If that happened in like Winter Soldier, where you've got just Bucky Barnes in his emo makeup with like the cool mask on and stuff, and then all of a sudden America is coming out of Captain America as he like shield sprints down the street.
That's what I love about Captain America. That man is so America in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That red, white, and blue just explodes out of him whenever he does a super. He's just America to
regardless
the
of
core.
what colour outfit he wears as well.
Yeah. No matter what he wears, it's always red, white, and blue. Man, America to the core. It's great.
Like, you can put that, the Captain, like, Punisher outfit on him.
Yep.
And it's, like, all black with the white skull, and it's still the red, white, and blue coming out during the
because, like,
scene.
you know what? Just America's still in there.
He just bleeds America.
Oh, but I'm still reeling from the fact, like, 1 gram of vibranium in Marvel costs $10,000.
And, like, that's the thing, it doesn't say what type of dollars, so it might be Wakandan dollars, might be American dollars, it doesn't quite...
I'm gonna bet
us-
that the Wakandan dollar is fucking strong. I'm gonna bet on the
Wakandan
world
dollar
market.
has got to be the strongest dollar, but at the same time, it's got to be the non-existent dollar, because they're completely isolated from other countries until they're not,
I guess.
and they only trade with like apparently fucking Ultron on the black market or some shit.
Oh man, but it's great. 'Cause, something really cool they did before they released the first Black Panther movie, if you can track it down, is they released like 2 30-second long adverts about like tourism for Wakanda. And, like, one of them is set like before they revealed what Wakanda is, and then one set afterwards. And the first one's like, oh, visit Wakanda. It's like, a traditional African country where, people like ply their trade, like basket weaving and stuff like that. Then the next one just like thumping techno music, and you're sort of like, yeah, Wakanda flying cars, fuck you.
Go for a splash in the glimmering waterfalls, or take a ride on one of our high-speed trains.
I do like the idea though that they found a little bit of vibranium in America and decided to make a shield out of it and not technology.
It's what Ultron does, isn't it? Like the most versatile metal on Earth, and he made a fucking frisbee.
Yeah, he's got a really good fucking point.
Yeah, well, that's what you go to what Wakanda. It's like, oh, here's like 1 bead of vibranium. What does it do? Cures a broken spine. They just put it into a bullet wound and it fixes the bullet wound instantly. It's like, great.
It's like, we just put it all into a circle that'll help one man maybe not get his ankle shot out.
Oh man, but the thing is though, can you imagine now? If I never understood. You want to like, get that man a shield. Why didn't you say get that man a Black Panther outfit? Because can you imagine Captain America wearing like the Black Panther outfit?
But it's weird because apart from having different like martial art styles and stuff, that's essentially what Black Panther is. Like Black Panther's actual power set isn't far off what Captain America's power set is.
At least in the MCU, yeah. Like, in the comics, he's got a whole bunch of extra stuff. But yeah, he's like, why doesn't Iron Man build everyone an Iron Man suit?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is he letting 3 members of his party who aren't bulletproof not walk around? In the very least, like, just that one he puts into like the watch.
Yeah.
Just like, the cheap one he puts in that's bulletproof.
It's easy enough to use that Pepper Potts can use it
Without
any training.
They put the president in one.
Yeah.
Either way, like, tell me more about Wakanda though. It's like, what's like, I think I might know the answer to this, but what is the primary religion of Wakanda? Because I know what Black Panther worships, but I need to know how widespread is just that panther thing.
Because the panther that they worship is Bast,
yes.
right?
Like, what is the like? So there must be some information. Like, we've got like its currency, we've got its population. What is the stated religion of Wakanda?
Well, it says here under religion that the Wakandans have ties to the African gods, who were widely worshipped in Egypt, but also had ties to other religions of Africa. The pantheon is known as the Orishas. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Orishas. I'm not quite sure, but the pantheon is known as the Orishas. Orisha is a Yoruba word that means spirit or deity. The pantheon is composed of the gods of Egypt, and that is Bast, the panther goddess, Thoth, god of the moon and wisdom, Ptah, the trainer, Cuckoo.
We picked a real rough one, didn't we, from these words?
I've had a rough one. We needed to try and like ride those panther tails, but I've had a rough read
like,
today.
all these like Zosa inspired, or maybe Zosa words themselves, like quite difficult to pronounce.
And they are a warrior undergod for the Yoruba faith of Benin and Mujaji. And then goddess of sustenance is a rain queen from the Balobedu's mythology. And again, apologies on pronunciations there. I'm not going to be an expert in that.
That's the thing,
In
though.
that sense, we just wanted to talk about cool Black Panther stuff.
Well, that's the ones where like, their primary religion is like, gods who exist in that universe. Because as far as I'm aware, Bast is real. Like, during
Yes,
they
yeah.
say like, in the Marvel universe, like, why does it, like, how can anyone be Christian? And it's like, oh yeah, like, you can be Christian and believe in this. Like, well, my mate's, he's Norse, and Thor, went into his dry cleaner last week. And my other mate, he worships
Thor's
like,
literally that Asgard is on Earth right now.
yeah, he's like, the Panther goddess Bast. I've got a mate who's like, into Panther worship, and it's like, the person who's like the avatar of that god is on the UN. So you can see them on the news every other week, talk about economic issues. Why do you still worship these? If anything, Jesus sounds so fucking lame.
It's one of those. It's similar to like Star Wars, where Han Solo's there, like, I don't believe in the Force or the Jedi. I'm like, oh, all right.
Especially when you go watch Solo and he met one.
Yeah,
he met one.
Like, he would have been a child during the time where the Jedi were thriving, and it's like, all right, okay, Han, just sure.
Yeah, especially when he's like
you.
a bounty hunter and he's like, seen all that crazy bullshit. At least one person must have talked about the Force at least once.
And like, it's weird, isn't it, of just being a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's like, what did I learn about Egyptian gods in school? And what did I fake learn that I think is real that I actually just learned from Yu-Gi-Oh?
Can you imagine, like, you go into, like, I don't know, you're a mastermind or something like that, and it's like, which one of these is a real, like, Egyptian god? And, like, Sly for the Sky Dragon comes up.
Obelisk the Tormentor!
And you're like, no, I must resist urge to shitpost in real life.
The primary religion, it says here, is the Panther cult.
Panther
of
cult?
Black
How is it a
Panther
cult?
fame.
The Panther god exists, like, the guy who's the avatar is real. How is it a
Yeah, it's
cult
weird,
if they're right?
There's 5 religions here listed. 1 is a clan and 4 of a cult. And I'm like,
But how
is it a cult when the Bast god exists?
That's the thing, how is it a cult if you're right?
Yeah.
That's the one. It's like, doing that, they go in, it's like, you can demonstrably prove that you are right because the Black Panther exists.
Mm-hmm.
That you have a bulletproof man kick-flipping cars in Korea on the news, who's the leader of your country and owes all of his power and success to the Panther goddess. How are you a cult? How are you just not right?
There wasn't a book written, Carl. I don't know what qualifies like a religion over a cult, but it seems bizarre to still qualify as a cult when there's proven existence of the god.
Especially when the proof of existence is the person in charge of the country.
Yeah, so it does say here, after the vibranium meteor fell, a number of Wakandans were painfully mutated into demon spirits and began attacking their fellow Wakandans. T'Challa's ancestor, Bashenga, became the first Black Panther and closed the vibranium mound to outsiders, forming a religious cult that guarded the mound and fought to keep the demon spirits from spreading across the kingdom.
Again, how is it a cult if they're right? It's not like they're saying, oh, demons might come out if we're not. No, demons did come out.
Demons have already come out.
And an actual, real, like, metaphysical entity granted you superhuman powers with which to fight them. It's not. Mm-hmm. This is not hearsay. This is what happened.
It's history.
Oh, it's not hearsay. It's history. Exactly. God, that'd be so infuriating, wouldn't it?
And the Black Panther is a ceremonial and religious title given to the chief of the Panther cult.
Does that mean...
In addition to ruling the country, he is also chief of its various tribes. The Panther uniform is a symbol of office, as well as a religious vestment.
Wait, are you saying that the Black Panther is like the fucking Pope of that religion?
Black Panther is like the Pope, the ruler of the country.
Are you telling me he's the Panther Pope? He's the Panther Pope.
The thing is, the fact that the Black Panther outfit is a uniform of office.
It's like he's got to put it on. So that's what he's like his Pope robes. He's got to go out and give speeches in that shit.
I didn't know this as well. Like, as part of the cult's ceremonies, a chosen Black Panther is entitled to the use of a heart-shaped herb that grants the person who consume it enhanced strength, agility, and perception.
Yeah.
Which implies that you're not actually required to take the heart-shaped herb. It's like an optional upgrade.
Why would you not, though? Do you want to be just like infinitely better in every conceivable way with no downside. No, thank you.
And then we move on here to the other cults.
What do they give you?
The other main cult that's given like a proper section here is the White Gorilla Cult.
Oh, is that where like M'Baku comes from? Like,
I would presume so, yeah. Yes, so I didn't realise that Man-Ape is M'Baku.
Yeah, M'Baku the Man-Ape.
I didn't realise. I've only obviously seen like the MCU rendition, so M'Baku is actually Man-Ape. Again, when I click on Man-Ape, it is I thought it was a giant man that is literally a white gorilla, but he's wearing like a white gorilla outfit.
Yeah, it's similar to the Panda Cult, where M'Baku is like M'Baku the Man-Ape. They just very wisely decided not to lean into that, given that idea was come up in the 80s.
Yes,
which was a very different time in regards
similar to like the whole like Shang-Chi and the Mandarin, and like, just trying to tone down a bit of those maybe questionable parts of the comic book.
Let's just sand these down. That's in Winston Duke's credit, who plays M'Baku. He's like, yeah, I went and I got a bunch of the comics, and he talks about like when he went to a shop. Have you got any like Black Panther comics featuring M'Baku? And the guy just like immediately clocked it and went, "Are you going to be in that Black Panther movie?" And he's like, "Why? No fucker's ever asked for those before." It's such a specific question to ask for one featuring M'Baku.
M'Baku, yeah.
So he's like, you did obviously work in a comic shop, you did rumours, like, "Are you going to be in the Black Panther movie?" And he just went, "Yeah, I'm going to be M'Baku."
It's like, well, fortunately enough, we've got them, but yeah, you're the first person who's ever requested the
like specifically, yeah. So that must be suspicious, right? Especially if you're in like in LA, near like where the offices are, and someone walks in, like, you know, you recognise them as an actor, and he's like specifically requesting comics featuring one character exclusively.
Yeah, and like obviously, I think it's a bit less suspicious if somebody walks in and is like, "Have you got any Batman comics with Robin in it?"
Yeah, but also Lucas.
But when it's like, "Have you got any Black Panther comics with M'Baku specifically?"
Oh, well, one thing I was thinking, Lucas, right? Maybe we can end on a little bit of trivia about, you know, the country of Wakanda. Please tell me some trivia.
I'm sure there is. Yeah,
right, I need to know, like, what does this wiki like consider trivia about this, like, now fuck you rich floating country? There's one. Okay, what is the bit of trivia that we can cover about the nation?
And it's about the MCU version.
Oh
as well.
No!
So the last bit of trivia here is just in the 2018 MCU film Black Panther, the people of Wakanda speak
Xhosa. The XO.
Xhosa.
Yeah, that's Xhosa.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
Which, shout out to Chadwick Boseman, he actually did learn how to speak.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And that is one of the real-world official languages of South Africa. Mm-hmm. The Jabari tribe appears speaking a dialect inspired by the Igbo dialect from Nigeria.
Yeah, like everything about that movie is just like, Joey, like you're saying, like love just on screen. Like that movie is just like an absolute just loving tribute to like Black history and culture. Like just as Joey is in like the round table scene, and every single person there looks fucking rad.
Yeah.
And they've all got all the different elements of like African culture within, like, you know, just weaved into their design. Like the guy has like the lip plate, and the lady has like, you know, the dreadlocks and stuff. And it's like,
and as well, didn't they the costume designers come up with specific garbs per tribe in Wakanda as well?
Because every tribe is like representative of different aspects of like, you know, African culture and history. Because they wanted Wakanda to be like, you know, the melting pot of African culture. So they wanted everything to get referenced and given its due. And it's just the amount of love
they
that was put into
basically used it as like an excuse to jump off and use as many different inspirations as they could.
Because why not? Yeah, like this is like, you know, plus as well with the excuse of being like, you know, Afrofuturism, like of course, and then they get to blend that with all the technology as well. And I thought it was so fucking good.
And I still think some of like the kind of visual design in the MCU of Wakanda is maybe like some of the coolest stuff we've got in any of the MCU movies so far, and I'm looking forward to getting like more of a glimpse with Wakanda Forever. Like I've not even seen a trailer or anything for that. I'm going in as blind as possible because I'm just so excited for that movie. Yeah,
and I want to see like how much more like love and care is given to that. Because obviously it's something about that I'm not all too familiar with. And watching like behind the scenes footage of like the costume designer and just the passion in her voice when she's talking about like, okay, I wanted to represent this, and this, and the fact they didn't get a fucking Oscar for that is like criminal.
Yeah.
Like the amount of effort that went into the costume design, like every element of that movie's design was like laboriously poured over.
And it was just stunning to look at as well.
Yeah, like every scene.
Like
is
even just visually, like, you know, even if it weren't necessarily as like I should say as laboriously poured over, just like I think in terms of just cinematic flair, it looks incredible.
Until you get to the rhinos. Or the fight at the end.
Are not quite what we were talking about.
Or the PS2 fight at the end between the two Black
Oh
Panthers.
god, yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing, isn't it? Of just you can slate those movies all you want, but all it is that realistically Marvel do not give CGI studios enough time.
Yeah. They're giving
make a lot of changes and stuff, and it's like I respect what they did with the time they had, but maybe like, you know, Marvel do a bit better.
I do like though that Michael B. Jordan, when he was talking to the costume designer, and they said, "Oh yeah, so what do you want your armor to look like?" And he's like, "Say an armor." Like he legitimately went in with a picture of Vegeta and said, "Can you make it look like this?" And the costume's like, "Say no more." And they gave him.
If you had the chance and someone was like, name any kind of armor, I was like, I was saying it'd be up there.
Yeah, well, that's when he just went in and said, "Can you make it like Saiyan armor?" And the person went, "Don't worry, we'll give you Saiyan armor with a military flair."
So I'd be there just like, can you make me look like this guy? And it's just a picture of like Cooler in his second form. just super shredding it up like, yeah.
Oh, that's the thing though. If Michael B. Jordan wasn't as much of a fucking nerd, like his look would have been so much more generic. But him being a huge nerd and having like the Vegeta armor, and then when he's wearing like, you know, the African mask, and I think that's something like he was just on set that day looking at the set decorations and went, "That looks rad." So Joe, when his character goes, "Kind of dope, I'm feeling it," and just picks it up.
Oh,
that was because like on the day he was just looking around, like, "I'm gonna put this on," and it looks super fucking cool.
Yeah, it does. And I'm very sad that is a character that presumably we're only going to get in one movie.
Oh man,
it's just like they had a lot of potential with Killmonger, and then it just ended up being like the generic Marvel, like two people with the same powers in a CGI fight at the end.
That's the problem though with Killmonger. You can't have a guy called Killmonger be the hero, even though every point he makes is super fucking accurate.
Well, until it's like
until he starts
take
murdering
over the
everyone.
world.
And that's the problem, yeah. It's that thing of like it feels like his point was so strong they had to put in the plot about him murdering everyone, because otherwise you're like always right.
They had to just give him the heel turn, because otherwise he becomes like the sympathetic anti-hero instead.
Well, it's like that thing, isn't it, of like, oh, black people have been getting it, like, you know, just the shit end of the stick for their entire, like, you know, interaction with, like, you know, the Western world.
Any
it's like,
outside
well, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
He's like, he's 100% right about everything he says in every scene, except when he presses the button to murder everyone.
Yeah, like the first half of that movie, I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of on Killmonger's side a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's like when he walks into the museum and goes like, "Oh, I'm gonna take this. You can't do that. Well, how do you think your ancestors got it?"
Yeah, like you took it from us, dickheads.
And that's what I mean. He's got, and the lady's just like,
But anyway, if, you know, you want to see us talk more about Marvel and maybe Killmonger in the future,
all his trust.
Then all his trust. Then obviously just, you know, like and subscribe and see where we end up going. Well, thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah.
And, it was a pleasure to talk about Marvel.
The beauty of Wiki Weekends that we can talk about anything, and it can go anywhere. Cheers.
And talk about lettuce defeating the Prime Minister.
You don't need to. Oh, defeat yourself.